ABC 15, new numbers on the wage gap between men and women. The National Partnership for Women and Families is out with a new report. It says here in Arizona, women earn about 82 cents on the dollar when compared to what men make. That ends up adding to a little more than $7,600 a year. Now, to put all of that in perspective for you, that's about 9 months of rent or 58 weeks of grocery bills. As tough as those numbers might be to swallow, the national average is actually worse. ABC 15 now wants to know what you think of this report. Why is there still a wage gap? How do we close it? And will it ever go away? We're joined today by two men on this topic, right? We have Andy Hill and Clovis Campbell Jr. Thank you guys for being here. You know, I read that and I'm a little bit, ticked off by it. But, I mean, why are we still here in 2012?
Well, Clovis, I think there's just a lot of reasons, because there's so many gaps in so many things still, where you think by now we would have, covered a lot of things. For example, when you talk about race and you talk about gender, sexual orientation, there's still a lot of gaps, and I think that it takes a long time. I think one of the things with America is we think in terms of short times because we have a short national history, whereas other cultures have much longer histories and much more time. They talk about generational changes. I just think we need more time, but you just can't stop. You have to keep at it. Yeah,
since the Equal Pay Act passed in 1963, I'm going to quote you what they're saying. Since it passed, the rate has gone less than a half cent per year, closing that gap, less than a half cent per year. So if we keep up at this pace, we're talking 2040 before we kind of equal it out a little bit. That's just way too long, a lot of women would say.
And I agree, and I didn't realize that gap was so large, but the fact that I think it's out of sight and out of mind, people have to start talking about it again and start really engaging in the conversation. I think women have to be a little bit more proactive and start talking about the fact that they need to get their wages fairly compensated. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's something that we definitely need to talk about. I think more conversation, the more things will happen, the more legislators will talk about it, and the more the Congress will talk about it.
Yeah, a lot of you guys are echoing that sentiment on our Facebook page. We want to get to what you're saying. And Tea Time says women will never make as much as men as long as men are in charge. Randy Craig Wilcox, if they're doing the same job, they deserve the same pay. However, sometimes they don't. Cool. Adam Powell, what kind of reporting is this? My girlfriend makes more than I do. There's no such thing as a wage gap. I bet some radical feminists wrote this article. Buzzy Hansen wrote on Facebook, the problem with the study is that it's not taking into account the types of jobs each gender has. A higher percentage of women knowingly choose to be teachers rather than work in higher paying corporate America. The statistic provided in the study is skewed. Alrighty, and again, those are opinions of both men and women, because there are a lot of men who make less money than perhaps their wives, and they don't have a problem with it.
But even that comment about how a lot more women choose to be teachers, that just shows you that, teachers are more important. We're not giving enough importance to those professions, so perhaps we need to look at the professions that maybe women dominate and reward those professions appropriately.
I like that idea. That's a good idea.
I also think the study might be a bit skewed because of the fact that, they don't take into those other things in account. So that being all things called in, we think that it's a study that we need to take a little bit more time to look at.
Well, a lot of people agree with you. Let's get the dialogue going. That's what they're all saying. That's what they agree with. All righty, we're going to